Hello and welcome to Coaster Bot Rambles, a short podcast-like segment where I talk to people about interesting topics or stuff that I generally want to ramble about. So today we have Andrew,
Hello.
and Andrew is the main man behind research and pushing me towards doing big and better stuff. Would you agree?
I guess. I don't think I push you.
So this first episode, we're going to talk about Wicker Man, which is Alton Towers' latest and greatest roller coaster. It's a wooden roller coaster, the first in the UK in 20 years, and it's designed and constructed by Great Coasters International. I don't know how much people have been following this coaster. Obviously, because I'm based in the UK and Alton Towers is the closest park to me, I've been pretty, keeping up to date with what's going on. And recently they announced the name of the ride. Before it was obviously just called SW8, but now it's actually become it's become Wicker Man, not the Wicker Man. Even though the Wicker Man sounds better than Wicker Man, I don't feel like Wicker Man is the best name in terms of how it flows.
It's one of those things where when we first get it, it sounds weird. Look back at Steel Vengeance. When we first got the name, it was like I might just call it RMC Mean Streak still. Remember that? And then we eventually got used to it. So I feel like it's been a few days. Wicker Man's going to. It still sounds weird to say, but eventually Wicker Man will become common.
But with Steel Vengeance, it never felt right to say the Steel Vengeance, Whereas I think when you put man into the title, you immediately want to include the, because you never really use man at the start of a sentence. You go the man, not man did. You go the man did.
That's true. But what I was trying to say was like it's just weird to say after calling it something else for so long.
I don't mind calling it Wicker Man. I just feel like it would be better to call the Wicker Man. Obviously, on logos and stuff, adding the isn't something you generally want to do, and the logo with just Wicker Man looks pretty good. I think it looks really good. But yeah, I'm not a fan that they didn't put the in it. I'll end up calling it the Wicker Man by accident a lot, so do expect that.
It's not that big of a deal, I feel.
But interestingly enough, this ride has caused a lot of, I'd say, controversy with its scale and size. Some people are a bit upset that obviously it's a smaller GCI coaster and it's the first wooden coaster in the UK for 20 years and we're getting a small GCI, not something like Mystic Timbers. So on that hand, people are quite upset. Personally, I think that towers need a family coaster to add up to their ranking. Obviously with the big six, only one of them is kind of family orientated. And even if Alton Towers aren't selling Wicker Man as a family coaster, it is in all means of things, right? Obviously 1.2 meter height restriction, so kids can ride it, but the actual theme of it is a bit dark, and we'll get onto that dark theme shortly.
Yeah, but I think Wicker Man as a whole is an attraction needed, and as you said, it's a family coaster at Alton Towers, which is before then they really only had 13 and Spinball Wizard, and Octonauts was the kiddie coaster, and their last major coaster was the Smile, which is a high thrill coaster. So kind of, I see it as that it was a family coaster with 13, then Smiler, then Octonauts was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Not sure where entirely. So Wicker Man was the next major addition.
The next big thing,
and going from Smiler, which is a throwing coaster, to a family coaster, similar to, say, Invader, I think it's a good fit for Alton Towers, and I think people are going to like it despite the controversy that's being brought up presently.
Yeah. But then you've got the whole thing of, why are you attaching this kind of cult spooky theme to a family ride? And people don't seem to get this, but I feel like it's quite a smart decision. Ultimately, you want everyone to ride your new attraction. And if you do have a family coaster, sometimes it won't appeal to all markets, especially, thrill markets. Some people who go to theme parks who only ride thrill coasters, I don't know, like teenagers, maybe they might not find an instant appeal to it. Whereas if it's got a dark theme, it appeals to everyone a bit more.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think with that, Wicker Man is able to, just like 13, able to apply to families, but still get the ridership of everyone. And 13 does that very well at the park so far. And Wicker Man, I feel, is just doing that again because it was so successful the first time. They're using that same formula once again to try and drive people back to the park and ride and get everyone to ride their new attraction. So when people say, "Oh, Merlin dark themes all the time," I feel like dark themes are usually done quite well. They're quite easy to do well, and generally, especially Wicker Man, this theme is unlike many others. They could have gone with some random mind theming or some random pirate theming, but we've seen that's been done countless times across the world. So I'm very glad that they did go with some random cult kind of, let's set this statue on fire.
When I first heard the rumors about SW being themed Wicker Man, because this has been discussed well before the announcement it's going to be called Wicker Man, I was a little surprised because personally I never heard of Wicker Man. This was completely foreign to me, so in my eyes, I was surprised they went with a more obscure reference.
But it's not a reference.
Yeah, I think the issue I have is that I'm comparing it to the movie that everyone compared it to, which there's no comparison. I don't know why I'm doing that.
All of the newspapers, right, they've all latched onto the idea that Wicker Man is themed to the film Wicker Man, which I don't know where they got from, because not in a single point in the press release does it say, this coaster is themed to the film.
It's just a concept.
So
mainly.
Yeah, it's just the concept. It's just the concept of effigies, and in the old times people would burn, wooden statues for some reason. That's all it is. It's not linking to the film.
That makes more sense now that I think about it. Okay.
Yeah, which a lot of people seem to have in their mind, that it is based on the film, when it's just its own identity and its own branding, which Towers, like to do. They'd like to be very unique, and I applaud them for that.
And now that you say that, the theming is better in my eyes. I have a better view of the theming. I think it's now well done, especially with the statue that's going to be incorporated into the ride experience, which is something that, we've seen at the Malmerizer, but Alton Towers, they seem to try to incorporate some theming element into the rides.
Yeah, it seems with Towers that it's always one big structure. Usually it's one big structure. That's what it's been, with the last edition of the Smiler, as you said, the Marmalizer. And this time it's a huge 18-meter tall Wicker Man, which apparently spurts fire. So, yeah.
And then we have Galactica Stargate, which I'm not really sure
yes,
that was
we do that again.
With air.
That was added on.
Okay.
No, it wasn't with air. That was added on. But again, yeah, perfectly right. It's not small things. It's one big thing. Mm-hmm. At least with Wicker Man, we've seen that they haven't just put one big structure in, like with the Smiler. It's a bit more themed in general. They've put a lot of work into making sure everything is to a high standard. Whereas with the Smiler, you look at it and you go, yeah, Marmalade looks good. You go, oh, the rest of it looks terrible, because it does look terrible. Whereas Wicker Man, they've done a good job so far. I just hope that they finish off all of the little points to a high detail, and then it'll be a fully fledged themed attraction, something that Towers doesn't really have besides, like Hex and stuff like that, really. Thank you for watching this new type of video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments down below, and then we'll look into doing more of these in the future.